Fueled by war and instability, a neighbouring Iraq, Syria has a thriving illegal sex trade. And it's Iraqi girls as young as 10 who are being kidnapped or forced into false marriages to work as prostitutes. The ABC's Antoinette Chiha worked undercover in the capital Damascus and spoke exclusively to women affected by the sex trade.
Damascus at night, bustling and vibrant. Its souks and religious sites, magnets for tourists. But hiding in the sandhills just outside the city is a more sinister side to the capital. Rows of garishly lit nightclubs. Locals describe this place as their very own Las Vegas. We took our hidden cameras into the heart of the city's brothel district. Here we learned that most of these girls are Iraqi teenage refugees. They're paraded and sold to leering customers wanting sex.
The issue of trafficking, especially from Iraq, young girls are brought to the country either through convenient marriages or with fake passports to be engaged into prostitution.
A lot of girls do this. It's mainly because of poverty, and it's the only work that brings in a lot of money. And there are no work opportunities here for the Iraqis, especially for girls.
Experts working to combat the problem say poverty has driven women into the trade.
The vulnerability of women alone and young girls alone, or young girls who are also too poor to survive, are more likely to become victim of trafficking.
Syria has the largest Iraqi refugee population in the world, and they usually end up in urban slums like this one, Sayda Zainab, just outside the nation's capital. Samira lives in Sayda Zainab with her youngest daughter. She's one of 1.5 million Iraqi refugees living in Syria. 5 years ago, in war-torn Iraq, she struggled to provide for her disabled husband, son and 3 daughters.
I worked and bought things while he just got drunk and beat me. We were hungry and poor. I wanted to save them from their father and from hunger. Did you see hunger in Iraq? After the occupation, all the stealing and robbing.
Desperate, she married off her 2 older girls, aged 14 and 10, to brothers who were several years older. But soon after the wedding, she learnt her daughters were being taken to Syria on false passports.
Soon after, 3 days or a week, I came to Syria. I found them and went to them. During the day, I saw everything normal, but at night, I saw all this makeup on my daughters. And not only my daughters, but 2 other girls as well. They were beaten time after time.
In Damascus, Samira discovered that her daughters lived with other young Iraqi girls. Their house was frequented by groups of men until the early hours of the morning. Often, eldest daughter Iman would leave and not return until dawn.
She told me they take them out, for money, to the farms with men from the Gulf. There were Saudis and others. They'd take them to the farms, and then they would dance and then sleep with them. I swear to God. And one of the men would take the money. I couldn't talk anymore. I was sick, stunned.
Samira went to the Syrian authorities, but they turned her away. Within days, the traffickers had moved, taking the girls with them. The older girl managed to escape back to Iraq, but 10-year-old Rajette wasn't so lucky. She was on-sold to traffickers.
Where is my younger girl? I don't know.
For 5 years, Samira has lived in Syria, searching for her daughter Rajette, who would now be just 15 years old.
Where have they taken her? What are they doing to her? I don't want to think about it. 5 years waiting for God's mercy, nothing, and I'm searching for her.
Like Samira, thousands of Iraqi women and teenage girls who have sought refuge in Syria aren't allowed to work. Those who register with the UNHCR get an average $42 a month on which to live. Their vulnerability has made Syria the Middle East's sex tourism hotspot. The US State Department's report on trafficked persons found the trade is largely serving men from other Middle Eastern countries.
A significant number of women and children in the large Iraqi refugee community in Syria are forced into sexual exploitation by criminal gangs or, in some cases, their families. Iraqi families arrange for young girls to work in clubs and to be married, often multiple times, to men for the sole purpose of prostitution.
But the Syrian government is underplaying its sex tourism problem.
It's
not expected that we'll be a centre. We don't compare ourselves to other countries like Thailand or the Philippines.
Nevertheless, the government has passed tough new counter-trafficking laws, providing heavy prison sentences and fines, and for the first time, not charging trafficked women with prostitution.
But I reiterate that for us prevention is more important than the cure. Syria, out of its care to combat this phenomenon before it happens or before it spreads widely, has enacted this law.
Dr. Ibrahim Daraji, a legal expert on counter-trafficking in the Middle East, helped draft the new law.
First, this law provides special protection for women and children. This law makes criminal penalties stricter as never before and imposes very high monetary penalties as well. At the moment, this law faces a challenge of implementation.
There hasn't been a single trafficking conviction since the laws were passed in April. It comes as no surprise to Iraqi refugee sisters Rula and Muna, who now live in a safe house in Damascus. They're too scared to talk to police about their terrifying experience. Earlier this year, 2 Iraqi women dressed in burqas forced their way into the girls' small Damascus apartment, held knives to their throats and demanded they work for them as nightclub dancers.
She said, "We want you to work with us." I asked what kind of work, but from her manner, "You are pretty girls. I will have you do work that will bring you a lot of money." The way she talked, and she said words that are dirty words.
Luckily, they managed to flee their kidnappers.
If I see these 2 women, and I hope not to see them, killing them would be too little. We were saved from them, but surely some others fell into their hands.
So why didn't the girls go to the police?
They threatened us. "If you tell the police, we will bring men into your house." So I think that they were watching our movements. Well, we are girls, Iraqis, and living by ourselves. So how can I go and report it to the police?
Sometimes they become victim of trafficking by people who are close to them. And to come forward, they are afraid the consequences of such fact. And a lot of women who are victims of trafficking, they're not aware of this fact.
Even if Iraqi girls manage to escape Syria's sex trade, where do they go? Their families have been torn apart, their homes in Iraq destroyed, or too dangerous to return to.
Most Iraqi victims of trafficking are also refugees. When we deal with other victims of trafficking, we think, okay, we will help them.
Muna and Rula say they can't go back to Baghdad. Their parents are living in Europe, but they have neither the money or approval to join them. As long as they remain refugees in Syria, the sisters can't live normal lives. They're confined to a safe house overseen by nuns and never go out in public alone.
We feel reassured because we are with the nuns. But what's going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. We won't be so lucky next time round.
Back in the notorious red light district of Damascus, Samira's painful search for her daughter continues. She's just received a tip that Rajette was seen dancing in one of these nightclubs.
They say they bring her here at night and make her dance for the men. I don't sleep. My heart is burnt.
Samira won't give up hope.
I haven't left a place I haven't searched. I hope I find her.
Antoinette Chiha with that report.